Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Several persons, including women, have been detained in a major police military operation in Augustown, St. Andrew. The operation got underway around 2 o'clock this morning. The team is in search of guns and wanted men. A quantity of ammunition along with high-powered guns have been seized. Head of the Area 4 Police, Assistant Commissioner Devon Watkis, says the operation is in response to the recent flare-up of violence in the area.
We are serious about restoring full calm to that area, and so we're seeking to remove some of the persons who are involved in gang activities and community conflict, which has been a concern. When I visited with the men on the ground earlier, I know they have picked up some of these men and in categories of wanted or persons of interest, including women, and they reported that a quantity of ammunition from M16 and otherwise were found.
A 24-year-old man who was wanted in connection with a quadruple murder in Claremont, St. Elizabeth in May has been captured. The killing took place while the men were playing domino at a birthday party in the community. It's understood that the 24-year-old fled the area following the shooting. He was found hiding in a house. His name is being withheld pending further investigations. The dispute between the Firearm Licensing Authority FLE and the Manchester businessman over a machine at the center of a probe has escalated into court proceedings. Attorney at law John Jr., who represents the businessman, has confirmed that a claim has been made against the FLE stemming from its restriction to access the machine. The controversy began in March after the FLA seized the machine because of its capacity to manufacture component parts for the guns. Mr. Jr. had questioned the basis of the seizure as the machine was being used legitimately. He told our news center that the tension has escalated and his client was still being prevented from accessing the machine.
Not having heard anything further since March the 20th, we proceeded to file an action under demand letter. We filed an action for detenue and conversion because our client has been, in our view, wrongfully deprived of the use of his machine.
As the festive season approaches, the Clarendon police are appealing to citizens to be cautious when carrying around large sums of cash. Constable Nathaniel Hamilton warns that unsuspecting individuals are especially vulnerable to thieves. The warning follows a recent incident of an attempted robbery in the capital, Maypen.
The complainant went to the Maypen market to do some shopping. When he exited his vehicle and was about to shop, a formally dressed male entered his vehicle and stole a bag which contained his $250,000. He saw what was happening, he raised an alarm, and the citizen responded.
After the arrival of the police, the money was returned and the alleged robber released. In the meantime, Constable Hamilton commended the people of Clarendon for their intervention in the matter.
I'd want to commend the citizens of Clarendon and the able way they were able to prevent a robbery that was taking place over the weekend along Muir Park Avenue. A man had gone to a particular bank in the Maypen area and had withdrawn $250,000. He would have lost same had it not been for the swift intervention of the citizens of Clarendon.
President of the Jamaica Institute of Architects, Christopher Liu, has expressed some concerns about the Prime Minister's announcement regarding the development of more high-rise buildings in Kingston. Last week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced that the government is now considering applications for 20-story buildings in Kingston. He said taller buildings are part of the government's thrust to ensure the maximum use of available lands in Kingston and St. Andrew. But on TVJ's
there are issues to deal. And Dr. Samad was talking about earlier about people live where they work, etc. There are issues to deal with infrastructure, code compliance, the cost of construction, because these must have elevators. Yeah. They must be serviced. If it's an apartment, it's a strata, maintenance costs. People don't pay their maintenance. Then the elevator is not serviced as it should be. These are issues that have to be dealt with.
He says he's especially concerned about access to such buildings in the event of a fire.
The fire brigade response was that we have equipment trucks that can go to 6 stories. The assumption I assume was made that the buildings above 6 stories would have sprinkler systems and other fire protection devices, equipment that would protect the building, and that people in buildings higher than 6 stories could evacuate without needing a fire truck with a ladder to take them off the 6th floor.
You agree with that?
Well, it has not been tested in Jamaica, fortunately.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says school leaders have no discretion when it comes to implementing the government's no-fees policy in infant schools. He dismissed the common explanation that some schools ask for fees to help keep the institution afloat and instructed principals to get in touch with the Ministry of Education when problems arise.
Discretion on the part of the principal and the teachers to deviate from government policy in the management of the school. Children are entitled to pre-primary education freely, meaning that they can access early childhood education without any obligatory fee.
The Prime Minister was speaking at the opening ceremony for the Jamaica-China Goodwill Infant School in Olympic Gardens. The school, dubbed the best school in the country by education officials due to its state-of-the-art infrastructure, will accommodate 180 students. It was built from a partnership between Jamaica and China.
It's only by creating a solid education foundation and providing Jamaicans with the necessary tools that will turn the enormous potentials into the innovation that will lead to the breakthrough in technology, manufacturing, and eventually prosperity for all Jamaicans.
Regional carrier Caribbean Airlines is reporting profits for the first 9 months of 2018. It said year-to-date, total revenues showed a 15% improvement of 291 million TT dollars. It also noted that total net income of 48 million TT dollars was realized during the period. However, the company says it's spending more on fuel and that expenditure is now at $450.4 million. It's an increase of 104.9 million TT dollars over 2017. Trinidad and Tobago was again rattled by another earthquake this morning. The Seismic Research Center of the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies, UWI, said an earthquake with a magnitude of 4.0 rattled parts of the country. It's the 9th tremor felt there in as many days. There were no immediate reports of injuries or damage. Seismologist and acting SRC Director Dr. Joan Latchman has been warning Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean to be prepared for another major earthquake and that the various tremors in recent days are nothing new. In August, many residents ran into the streets after a quake with a magnitude of 6.8 rocked the country, followed by several aftershocks causing damages but no loss of lives. In news overseas, a new study says oceans are absorbing 60% more heat annually than previously expected. Those involved in the data say this suggests the Earth is more sensitive to fossil fuel emissions that were once thought dangerous. This comes on the heels of a United Nations report warning that we have just 10 years to act to avoid disastrous levels of the global phenomenon. According to the UN, the Earth will reach a crucial threshold as soon as 2030 that could result in extreme drought, food shortages, floods, and wildfires. The study was backed by the claim from the program's office. It was published in Wednesday's issue of the journal Nature. In news overseas, Google employees around the world walked out of their offices today in global protest over how the company deals with sexual harassment. We have more from the CNN.
So the rain, as you can see behind me, did not keep the employees from protesting, from walking out. And what started around 11 a.m., we saw a small group come out, and they told us that there was larger groups meeting inside of the Google offices just behind me here in central London. And they said that they were meeting inside, and then some of them actually came out outside, and some of them are still standing out behind me. You can see them over there. And a lot of them said that they felt good support from their managers to do so. As you noted, Google's CEO has said that he supported people who wanted to walk out. And we spoke to some who said that they were walking out to protest the idea that some executives were paid off after being accused of sexual harassment. They were walking out in support of these women, and they told me that they hope that this would be the start of a positive change, not only at Google, but across the entire tech industry.
Yeah, it definitely triggered a pretty sizable turnout. Despite the rain there in London, we've seen images on social media of similar walkouts taking place across Europe, also across Asia this day. As you reported, this is a walkout that received support from the CEO of the company, but will it lead to change? And will it lead to justice for the women who were harassed at Google by Google execs who received those multi-million-dollar severance deals?
Yeah, and that's what a lot of the employees that we spoke to talked about, that one of them even said it didn't even matter necessarily what the CEO said, because it matters what happens on the ground, what happens with their managers, what happens with the relations with women.
And in sports, former West Indies coach Phil Simmons has questioned the team's decision to drop opener Chanderol Hemorrhage for the fifth and final one-day international against India, where the Caribbean side lost by 9 wickets. Hemorrhage, who made his debut in the opening match of the series, was replaced at the top of the order by Jamaican Rovman Powell, who made 16 of the Windies' score of 105 all out. But being the Windies' fifth best run scorer on the road with 70 runs in 4 games, Simmons feels the decision to leave the Guyanese out of the squad was a poor one.
Yes. Oh, that should be taken.
It's been a nightmare in decision making for them today, because if you score less than 200 in an ODI, and then you drop a batsman, that doesn't make sense. Also, you drop one of the batsmen who looked like he was getting into it now. He started well in the first 2 games especially, and then you come here with extra bowler, you win the toss, and you decide that I'm going to bowl with the Jew that's predicted. So a lot of misread decisions.
Jason Holder, 25, and Marlon Samuels, 24, were the other batsmen reaching double figures in the Windies innings, as Ravi Jadeja was the pick of the Indian bowlers with 4 for 34. Jamaican O'Shane Thomas picked up the early wicket. Windies captain Jason Holder was left disappointed with the team's performance.
Oh, there he is. Action replay. Goes full. Oh, that is just... And that's an emphatic...
Yeah, not the finish we were looking for. Obviously we lacked consistency in the last couple of games. We just didn't bat well enough, and it cost us. And still credit to the guys. I thought we showed an admirable performance coming up here in India against India in their backyard. Obviously some bright sparks in the competition as well. It's just a matter for us, to pick ourselves back up. We've got to look at our weak areas, and we've got to attack them.
The teams will now turn their attention to the 3-match series starting Sunday morning. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.